Well, I'm back again. Second video. How are you? I hope you're well. I didn't get very many views on the first video, but I got a positive feedback. And somebody told me that they needed to hear a lot of what I said. And that's all the encouragement I needed. One person. That's it. So, maybe this video we can get 2 people who like it. That'd be good. But if not, it's somebody for me to talk to. So if you watch this, like, comment, subscribe, do all those things, because it's an exchange of energy, and I need it. And you need it too. You need what I got. I have some toast here and some coffee and Franklin. And I'm going to explain a little bit of the crazy that is me, because I am being guided to do this big thing, and I honestly don't know how. So I'm going to try to explain a little bit of it and just see where this goes. And I have some toast. And it is, it's morning toast, but it's garlic olive oil toast. If I could, I would have pot roast for breakfast. Although I don't know why I couldn't. Well, I don't have any way to make pot roast, but, you know. I don't have pot roast money. That's okay. I'm afraid to do this. I'm afraid to share because people are mean. But people are great too. So if you're mean, go away. In my first video, in my first movie, that was like 2.5 hours. I was feeling really bad about that. And I thought, Joe Rogan, he talks to people for a million years. But I know I'm no Joe Rogan. I'm not going to feel bad about it, however long it is. Because you can always stop this at any time and come back to it. Okay. While, if you watch the first video, you'll know that as I was changing my life and quitting smoking, I hope I made it clear. Maybe I didn't. I found spirituality along the way. And that spirituality opened a level of communication with God that I threw myself into wholeheartedly. I started to realize that I could channel. And I started having these times where I was channeling this huge story. And I went with it. I had many days and nights where I would have tarot readings. I would draw those tarot readings, those tarot cards. I would dance around and just move my body. And I had my candles and my Florida water and my incense and all that stuff. I was Stevie Nicks. I was Stevie Nixing it up. I just kind of let spirit move through me. And that kind of came about because I saw, I think it was a TikTok, where you can ask your Siri or Alexa or whatever to play you music, and then supposedly there's going to be a message in that song that plays. And that's what I did. I lost myself to the music. And then it just started happening. Then it just started going on. And two things started happening. I started getting an idea for this huge story for a book, a sci-fi book, or a fantasy book. This is Hazel. Hazel was one of the first characters, but the whole book started from a song called Brandy by Looking Glass. And a whole world started being created in my brain. And I spent so many hours. It wasn't like it was just downloaded like word for word. It took hours for these ideas. I have that thing where I can't visualize in my mind's eye, but with music, that's how I knew it was channeling, because I was seeing images. But if I'm to close my eyes right now, I can't really even picture my grandkid's face. There's a slight outline, but I can't see things in my mind's eye. But when I'm channeling, I can. I don't know. It's strange. So I went with the book. Excuse me. Well, I didn't really know. I didn't know what it was. It was a story. And it was keeping my mind off of the heartache that I was going through and the abuse that I was suffering while I was separating from my husband. He had total financial control, and I was dependent on him for everything. And I just kind of stayed in my room, and I was self-medicating. And I was just trying to work it out and just trying to hang in there long enough to get my share of money from the sale of our house. And honestly, in the back of my mind, what I really wanted was for him to agree to go to therapy and to change. I think I still even wanted that all these years later, like recently. I'm getting over that. Well, I'm over that. But I came here after the house was sold. Okay, I don't want to get off the thing, but I think I was biding time is what I'm saying. And Source was giving me, God was giving me these gifts to occupy me, to bring joy into my life. It was like, as I was with my art, as I was draining myself of this negative energy and these negative things I was pulling to myself. And this is why I mentioned my husband, because it was so, the bad energy and the negativity and the abuse was so thick. It was all I could do to just stay alive. Not that I thought he was going to harm me like that, but I thought that I might harm myself like that. And it was a lot. So for the first time probably ever, I woke up with this joy of my story. And over time, I realized it was a book. And I make fidgets and stuff. I make spiritual fidgets, and I started making components of the, I don't know whether it's a book or a movie or a game. I don't know what it is, but it's a story. And I have visual aids for my story, and it is good. It's so good. It's so good, and I love it. But the thing is that while I have some control over it, most of it is downloaded from God, honestly. And it's this give and take from spirit that is a beautiful thing to me. And I'm afraid, really, to try to explain it or share it. But I'm going to. Because honestly, I've said before that I don't have an education. I have no real idea how to write this. And I don't have the physical, I don't have the tools that I need to write it. I'm broke. And when I did have money, I bought all this Apple stuff thinking that I didn't know that you have to have, like, you pay for this memory and all this crap. I didn't know that. Or I would have never bought this. So I'm stuck with tools I can't even use. And I don't have the app that I need to. I'm old and I don't know stuff. And I especially don't know technology because my husband, my abusive husband, was an IT guy. And I just checked out of technology because I always felt like he was monitoring me. And he would yell and scream at me if I needed to know something. Like, I'm traumatized. I'm uneducated and I'm traumatized, but I got a story inside me that God gave me. How crazy does that sound? So, I'm writing this story in my brain. And how it would work was I would get a general idea, and then I would just tune in, and it was like this dance between God and I, Spirit and I, creating this book. And at the same time, listening to all this music and stuff, I started getting, Lord, what do I call this? I've struggled for years for a name for what this is. When you have psychic powers and you can hear things, it's called clairsentience. And I have that. I don't know what this is. I hear a song, and it's not every song. I don't choose what song. And I don't choose the story that I get with the song. It's like a half and half. I don't know. I can try to explain. I remember standing in my kitchen and getting the first download like this. And it was early in my healing and my quest to free myself of all the things that were hurting me, so I could not be depressed. I remember standing in my kitchen and I was cooking. Leave the Door Open by Bruno Mars came on. And I started seeing this image. And the image I was seeing wasn't what you would typically see. But that's happened to me throughout my life. A little bit. Mostly when I was a child. But this was a little different. When he's saying, what Bruno in the song, if you don't know, he's trying to entice a woman to come visit him. He's saying he'll leave the door open for her. He's trying to seduce a lady. He's trying to get a booty call. And what I was seeing was a little boy standing in what I saw to be his bedroom's door. I think about 7 or 8 years old. And he had on a silk smoking jacket. And he had milk in like a brandy sifter glass. And he's telling his mom, I'll leave the door open. And I can feel, and this didn't just happen right then. I just started seeing outlines of this stuff for the first time. And this came, once I hear the song and it starts happening, I have to listen to the dang song over and over and over again. And it kind of fills in the blanks. Hold on, excuse me. And how do I explain this? So I'm seeing these images, but I'm getting a backstory. And I know that the little boy has been told that he can't sleep with his mom anymore. And he's getting too old. And I can tell that she's getting ready for an event at her house. At first I thought it was a date night, but then that turned into a get together with her friends, with her girlfriends. So she's busy preparing the house, and he's popping up around every corner. And he's trying to, basically he's saying, okay, I can't sleep in your bed, but you can come sleep in mine with me. And he's just being a menace, and he knows he's got to go to bed. He's taking his bath. He's doing whatever. And he's like showing her his room. He's got this really nice room. And at first I thought it might have been a commercial for Lay's potato chips. Because I see the little boy, and he's got like this whole like charcuterie. She has made him like, since he's going to be in his room, she's made him like a movie night. Like this, he has this tray with all these snacks on it. And he says, if you're hungry, in the song, Bruno says, if you're hungry, I got fillets. But I kept seeing, if you're hungry, I got the Lays, right? The Lays potato chips. And my grandson and I love Lay's potato chips. And so then I realized that the story might have been about him, because he was kind of going through the same thing around the same time. My daughter was remarrying, and my grandson wasn't going to get to sleep with his mom anymore. And his heart was broken. He didn't want, her new husband to sleep, you know what I mean? And so he was going through it. He was younger than what I was seeing, but I thought that it was relating to my grandson. The story just kept getting bigger and bigger. But I didn't really realize this is the first song in this story. And then what happened was I got a huge chunk of a download with When Doves Cry. Huge chunk. And what I saw isn't a story that I would tell, or, that I know anything about, really. So I knew something was going on. But it wasn't just me or having to do with my life. And I saw a scene that was so compelling. It was just otherworldly. And I've hesitated for so long to even bring it up, because it's so controversial in this day and age. Well, any day and age it's controversial, but I'm like, what the heck is this? So I see this story with When Doves Cry. And after I'm thinking about it, and after I sat with it for some time, and after it kind of expanded into 2 or 3 other songs off of this song, I started to despair, because how the heck am I going to get... I thought that I would have to... What I thought it was going to be something like my story would go with the video, and then I thought it was going to be animation or something. I didn't know. And I just despaired. How am I going to get the rights to When Doves Cry? How am I going to use that song? What is this for? But it didn't stop. It didn't stop. And it just kept... I started calling it a spur. Like there's a central spoke. And if there was a central spoke, it would be When Doves Cry. And the story takes place in this diner. And then there's other offshoot songs that totally show me a character. I've tried explaining this over the years. I have... Before my daughter threw me out, before I left, my grandson gave me his first toy, his first baby. It was him. Franklin. It still has fuzz on his head from my grandson. It still smells like him. And he loved my stories. He didn't hear like a lot of these ones, but the book, he was totally into it. He's made me characters, and he's drawn me. He's a good drawer. He's drawn me, little guy. He's in characters. He's going to get credit in my book as an illustrator. He has really helped me. My granddaughter, she encourages me in other ways, but he's really been into the book and the story. This thing with the music, not so much, because it's kind of traumatic, and he can't really talk to, he was 8 years old at the time, 7 and 8. I can't really, he's 10 now. Can't really talk to him about that stuff. And so I'm going to spit it out, and I'm going to say a little bit of the thing, and I'm going to say the songs, and I wish I could play them. I wish I could play the songs, because it helps me. But what I'm trying to say is that it's like a puzzle. They fit together. And they range from, Delta Dawn is a huge one. Delta Dawn from Tanya Tucker to all the way to Tupac, Brenda's Got a Baby. It's huge. Okay, this is what I wanted to say. And it hasn't been until I got here in the last couple months that I realized this has a song too. Hazel does. But I got the story for Hazel way before I even got a song for Hazel. And I had given up on this. When I came here, my dad has no interest. I had nobody I could talk to about it. And I felt shame because when I tried to tell him about it, he freaked out and was just completely incapable of following the storyline or even trying to follow the storyline or what was going on. I mean, he thinks that I'm insane. And so to him, I was talking madness. He's just, he couldn't take it. And so that hurt so bad. That hurt so bad. So I haven't worked on it in almost a year. And that's okay, because I've been healing a lot of stuff. And it hasn't gone anywhere. I just haven't had that joy. And I haven't felt free enough really to have that joy. Even when I was in my home and there was abuse, I still had he didn't hinder me spiritually. He didn't make me feel like I was like satanic or something. And then when I moved with my daughter, she didn't understand. She was the one that started the this stuff is of the devil and all this stuff, and she didn't understand the spirituality stuff. And then coming here, it's even worse. Like, he'll come in here and inspect the room, and he just acts like I'm a Satanist or something. And it's real hurtful. And he has no tolerance. Well, he says he doesn't have any tolerance for fantasy and science fiction, that he deals only in facts. But he's got a whole story about some pioneer woman who was killed, and then she shows up in other people. He's got a whole like sci-fi thriller in his brain. I don't know. He just doesn't want to hear my story. He doesn't understand music, or he doesn't want to even try. And he's the only person I have. I've been around for a year. I don't have anybody to talk to. I don't have. So what I'm trying to say is I haven't worked on it in a while. And I love it. And it makes me feel good. And I'm getting ideas again. And I was instructed. I was just instructed the other day. I had a part of the book came. And that's another thing. You can't write something that you don't have all the information for. And it's not like, it's very hard to explain. I'm writing it, but I'm writing it with God. And I can sit and try to make up a backstory or prophecy or all these things all I want. But if it's not coming, it's not coming. And if it doesn't feel right, I'm not going to include it. So I just got some backstory like after I made the video. I freed up some BS. I freed up space. I freed up space. My cache. I cleared my cache. And then today, I started seeing all of these out of nowhere, all of these YouTube shorts about these amazing women who were spies against the Nazis and they were part of the resistance. This one-legged American chick who was a spy, and she would telegraph and she posed as a journalist. This aristocrat woman who hid so many people. She hid some famous author in her couch so that the Nazis wouldn't get him. And this young girl who would hide babies in a bag, in a sack, and throw them away. But what she was really doing is she was saving kids. She saved 2,500 babies. Oh my God. And these are young women. These are just... And I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that I am on par with them. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if they can be brave, I can be brave too. I'm not facing no damn firing squad. The lady with the babies, they captured her. They captured her and they broke her limbs. But she still didn't give up a single baby. She still didn't give up a single baby. With broken legs. They were going to execute her. And some resistance fighters broke her out. She lived until she was old. And the other women, nobody ever really knew until they were older what they had done. Because it wasn't safe. It wasn't safe for them to tell. Amazing, amazing stories. That just lit a fire under my butt and said, you know what? If these ladies can do that, nobody's breaking your limbs. You don't have to climb over mountain passes with one leg and try to telegraph and get your spy information out. I can't even imagine. So I can tell about Hazel. Brandy by Looking Grass built the world. Built a lot of the world. But in that world, and I have books and cards and drawings and flowers, and there's different regions, and it's huge. It's a huge book. The basis of that book is this is a world where women are subjugated. Women are hidden. And they're hidden under the principle of women are born with power and they have marks all over their body. I think tattoos, but more in the line of like natural marks like cats would have, or just markings that you're born with. And most marks the woman is born with have a known corresponding power. Some of them don't. And there's a whole science to it. When you're married, you confer that power to your husband, your brother, your father. And it's a fighting society. Every man has to fight. Every man has a sword. Where's my sword at? Let me get my sword. I made a sword. Hold on. Franklin, sit there. Look at Franklin's lint. Hold on, let me get my sword. I'm always trying to... We should call this show and tell with Karen, because I'm always trying to show and tell something. There it is. Okay, I got some doodads. I don't want to knock you over. So, in this world, there's a main city. Think like medieval times Vegas, but on a steep cliff with dragon glass and all different colors on the cliff face. And there's a giant, I know there's a name for it, cay or a bay. There's a giant inlet. And in the middle of this inlet is a huge island, and that's where Hazel lives. That's a dragon island. And this whole society is structured and ruled by this event that happens once a year. And I've been calling it the dump, although it has an official name. I just don't have the card for that right now. I've been calling it the dump. And basically, what happens once a year is this giant portal opens in the sky over this city, and these creatures fall out. Like, imagine a magical toilet being flushed, and the sky is just raining down with mythical, magical, strange, alien, and mundane creatures of all descriptions, good, bad, and ugly. And the purpose of this kingdom, of this city, of all the available men of the land is to show up for this event and guard their world. The dragon that lives on the island is their biggest asset, but the dragons have been dwindling, and this is basically the last dragon. Isn't it always the last dragon in the books? That's the last damn dragon. And they know this is going to happen. They know the dump is coming, and you get warnings. And the warnings are these. First, you get this rain that comes, and it soaks everything. And then you start getting these series of colorful smokes that come, and the wind currents take it and spread it throughout the land. There's magic in this land, but most of the magic is done by alchemy. And there's a whole vast desert, barren but mineral rich and alchemist, magician rich desert. It's huge. And you have to traverse this desert to get to another kingdom, and it's a whole big thing. But filling up this desert is nothing but like magical farmers, but think mad scientists. They have pools of different things, and what they have found is different natural fibers. It's a natural process of this world to make small magics. Some are large magics, but we'll use a dandelion for example. So if you have a dandelion and an orange smoke gets on the dandelion, and then it's hit by rainwater or whatever, it'll create XYZ magic. So these tinkers, these alchemists, are trying to find a way to spark magic. There's only one way to turn these different compounds into literal power. So you can have, they don't have a way to turn it into actual magic. There is one band of people that do, though, and they control this. This is kind of a whole thing. So even all these tinkers and stuff, they can convert small amount of natural magic, but they have to send it away in order for it to be changed into anything that can actually be magic. And then they have to experiment with that and figure out what it does. Does it heal? Can you eat it? Does it cause fire? You know, basically it's a big thing. Before these monsters come, there's a big festival. And because all the men come to town, and then it's a big thing. It's like it's a meet. I have the words for it, but they're not coming to me right now. Basically, they imagine them crocheting this whole big, vast royal city with patterns in natural fibers, and everything is covered in white. And all these weddings happen, and all this stuff happened, and the women are hidden. But the other women know what the other women look like naked, basically. And it's a big thing. I can't explain the whole book. I'm just trying to explain Hazel. I can't explain Hazel. It's too much. Basically, Hazel is an age-old shapeshifter and has fallen in love with the dragon. And the dragon has flown through a portal because the emperor did something horrible. And the dragon was pregnant. And the dragon is constrained by magic to not harm the emperor, but she really wanted to immolate that guy, and she couldn't. And so she went through a portal and hasn't been seen in a very, very, very long time. Because she didn't want her egg, she didn't want her baby hatching on the world and having those constraints on it. She wanted her baby to be free. There hadn't been dragons in so long. So she did. And Hazel's sitting by the portal because Hazel is the father, or whatever the dynamics are between them. Hazel is baby daddy, mommy, whatever. Hazel's a shapeshifter and can turn into anything they encounter. And is older than time. Prefers to be a bear who reads. Say hi. And Hazel's having a hard time. Hazel has to show up during this dump. Hazel has had to show up as the dragon. But Hazel's not as effective as the real dragon. And they're worried. They haven't sensed their love. They're pining for their love. And I see Hazel sitting by an underwater portal, seeing the swirl of rainbow in this portal deep down in the ocean, in the island. There's like this hole. And I see them get up. And as they get up, to keep the creatures at the ready, you got to cycle through the creatures. And I hear Billie Eilish, "What was I made for?" And I see Hazel walking from the portals into the castle that's on the island, and just changing into just morphing into every single creature, just sad and melancholy. And Hazel doesn't know what he's going to do. Then he feels something. He feels a glimmer, and he goes to do something. Basically, what I found out is the book with the little boy and When Doves Cry connected with the fantasy book. So we have part of the book that's set in our world, and then we got another part that's in this other world. Oh, the reason for the swords. So every man has to fight because they have to kill these monsters. And there's a whole thing, like the prisoners in the prison, they get on these boats and they fight and they get time off. You either die or you get time off your sentence, or sometimes you can go free. Dead bodies of these creatures are tagged by whoever killed them, and then they get credit when that creature is divided up or slaughtered, and some of them are very valuable. And these tinkerers will pay any amount of money for some substances like unicorn horns or, whatever. And basically everybody's after the magic. And men have to fight. So the church is a military church. And the head of the church is like co-ruler with the emperor. And they have to fight periodically to make sure that both are in top shape. So when you enter the kingdom, there's a holding area, and every man has to be, either you have a pass or something that tells them who you are, or you have to be tested. And then if you're a good fighter, they put a heavy chain on your blade. So let's say some kind of monster pops out, you'll still be able to fight, but you won't be able to really cause trouble with, you're not going to be in the kingdom fighting it up with the other people. So a huge insult would be to say you have an unchained blade, because they only chain the ones that they fear. They chain your blade. And then these other things, the clips and everything, they tell a story about who the person is, like where they're from, or if you're a son or the sire, and then there's these. These are like markers. So you can have markers from different houses, and basically, if you can't fight, you can hire a mercenary to fight for you. So it's like a bodyguard. And rich houses do that because anybody can challenge you. But it has to be approved by the church. So in order for you to fight somebody, you have to call the priest. And the church gets 10% of whatever the wager is. And so people are constantly fighting. And a skilled swordsman can make a lot of money. But maybe the merchant or whatever it is, they don't have the money on them then. And so you'll get a marker. Or you can also receive a marker if the fight amount is too high and you could break that house. You could receive a marker that will, basically that house will be indebted to you. They owe you. And that could come in handy later on. Anyways, you tell a lot of stuff, and then the church gets 10% of every fight. It's all recorded, and that's how you get the money. When you fight every year, you get money from those bodies, or you get time off if you're a prisoner. And then mercenaries also guide caravans and stuff. The thing about this country is that it is on the other side of the continent, and there's this system of this big barge that kind of, think about, when you go to an amusement park and then they have these big sky trams, think about that, but with an island. Huge islands that are traversing one side of the continent to the other side of the continent, traveling over the desert, traveling where all these alchemists are, and traveling over this dense, deep, really unexplored jungle. That's one of the things about this world, is it's vastly unexplored because they're too busy fighting. And So that's where most of the government's money goes to, is the magic that runs these trams. And there are creatures that live all over that want to attack and kill, and so they're constantly having to, because they can't get them all a lot of the time. And a lot of them have been there since before they were put there to guard the things. So they're under threat all the time from external forces. They haven't really explored land or sea. Except there's this one group of citizens. They're not native to this planet, but they are gifted. And I'm getting a buzzing in my ear. I'm going to tell it. All the women are covered in town. And it's like showing somebody what you hold. And it's a big deal. Women can't be seen women can't be seen. They travel and they're covered, and they have these like, think the Pope Mobile, but big tents. And it's a big thing. So if your face is shown, then if you're a worker or low class or a lower level, you're really poor, your father can sell your marks. So somebody who has a lot of money can buy other women's marks. But there's a mark that's like right here. Where's it? And that mark is like the last mark. If you don't have this mark right here on your forehead, because some women are born without marks. It's a very unfortunate thing. And families normally discard those women, those children, because they're just a burden. If you don't have that mark, then you can't get married, you can't have a child, you cannot breed. It's a law that you can't pass down that genetics. You're seen as cursed. It's a long story. The exception to this, to being of low stature, are a race of women called the Genoa. And they are badass bitches. And they sail the seas. And they're the only ones that do. They're out there and have the capacity to sail the seas. And they're all women. Nobody has ever seen a male Genoa. And they are the only ones that can convert this powder and all the different things coated in the different powders into actually magic compounds. They take it all, they put it on a big old barge, they tow it away, and then it comes back magic. Nobody knows how they do it, and they walk around butt-booty naked because they can. They stalk through the streets like a sea leopard. They're just like in your face. They're very magical. They're very, think Amazons. And the church and royalty hate it. Everybody in the world is on the hunt for a way to make the magic. And they're the only ones that can. They're badass bitches. Okay, so, and that's just not even that. All of that, and that's not even scratching the surface. It's huge. It's huge. I have all that, and I don't know how to freaking write it. I don't know how to write it. I trust it'll come. That's my sword. Oh, I made these in the country. The girls, they can't hide under these big tents. They got to work in the fields. And so they have things like this that they keep on them. They have like fans that that can hide their face. And then they just cover themselves if a strange person or a man comes, they cover themselves. And then they have things like this. See, this is a fan too, but on the other side is they have these snakes. And the women in the country, see, this snake is so cute. Look, that's a corn snake. So she's like this, and this is protection. If somebody tries to kidnap them or take them or whatever, they have these snakes that are lethal. They're lethal. And they can also talk to other snakes. So I make doodads for my book. I haven't made anything in a while, but it makes me happy. I haven't worked on it in a while. I just got a huge part of it, though. So that's good. But now I'm finding... Thank you, Hazel. Now I'm finding that the book in our time is going over to my fantasy book. And I don't know what to do. But I think the reason why God did that, or Spirit did that, is because I have a problem, like I just said, imagining things. But since I have the words to the songs, I can see this whole thing. So all I have to do is write the song like it's a chapter. But you see what I'm saying? For a long time, I thought I had to include the actual music, and I was in despair. How am I going to get the rights to these musics? And I'm not trying to cheat anybody. I'm not trying to profit off of somebody else's work. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to scam. And then I thought about doing it with AI, but then at the same time, like, nobody takes you seriously. If I'm getting the story from God and I have AI write it, then what the hell am I doing? I'm just a middleman. I don't want to be the middleman or middlewoman. So, let me tell you a little bit about the story that's set in our time. I think I'm going to sing Delta Dawn too. Be prepared for me to sing Delta Dawn to you. Don't copyright me. So I'm going to kind of make it short. I'm not going to tell you everything that I see. And it's just going to be what it is. If you got a problem with trans people or anything, see you later. Bye. So what I see is a huge, like, John Hughes-ish. He's somebody who made big movies, teen movies in the 80s. And I see like a close-up closing in on a town where there's this huge festival going on, this celebration. Oh, and we just had Mother's Day. It's a Mother's Day celebration. I didn't even put two and two together. Look at this. Look at this. It's a Mother's Day celebration. And there are bikers and motorcyclists, and the town is overtaken with motorcycle riders of every sort. It is a peace meet. The theme of it is everybody's got a mom. And motorcyclists of all, future motorcyclists, military, what is that called? The police, CIA, all these, every kind of motorcyclist. We got dirt bikes. We even have anything you can ride on. There's bicyclists. There's horses. Everything but cars. There's no cars. And it's a huge Mother's Day thing. There's booths, there's food, there's all this stuff. And at the center of what we close in on, There's an opening part of When Doves Cry, and he's going, he's making this like grinding, whining sound, and I see a motorcycle. And you see a motorcycle guy with his mom on the back, and he's got mom with a heart on his arm. And then we close in on this huge mid-century modern diner that's actually really beautiful. And it's called a diner, but it doesn't really look like a diner. Well, anyways, there's a courtyard outside, and there's wisteria in these fountains, and all these kind of bougie people are waiting to get into this huge Mother's Day brunch. And there is a very visibly pregnant, male-presenting mother, looks like a man, a pregnant man, and an obviously trans woman, right? I don't have names for them. The father looks like a mom, and the mother looks like a dad. And it's hot. And the pregnant parent is obviously in distress, and then they're arguing, they're going back and forth throughout the song, and people are looking at him and judging him. And I know, I get the sense that the mom, we'll call her Eve, no. I need to name these guys because I don't know the proper terms. This has stopped me for so long because I don't know what to call them. Okay, the mother looks like a man. The father looks like a girl. So I'm going to call the mother. I don't know. She's pissed off, and she's like, dude, you could just go let them know who you are, and we could just go inside. Why do you have me waiting out here in this heat? And like the part that says you got the butterflies all that they can feel the baby's just kicking around, and she's miserable, and all these people are judging her, right? And then I see her waddling after him. He said, don't make me chase you, even doves have pride. Like, he's like, okay, fine, I'll go. And they go into the reception part, and as soon as they come in, she's holding this umbrella. It's this thing that new mothers and mothers on Mother's Day, they're going around each booth, and at each booth they give you like a flower to put on your umbrella. It's like a parasol, and it has these beads hanging from it, and crystals and feathers and all kinds of doodads for Mother's Day. And it's kind of advertising for these different booths, but at the same time it's just giving love to mothers and expecting mothers. And she has an umbrella, but with very few people have given her they don't understand. And so she doesn't have very many doodads, but she's got some on there. And she's shaking the thing as she comes in. And as soon as the man who we see and know is the owner and proprietor of this place sees this couple come in, he just is overjoyed and knows exactly what's going on. And this scene is seen from the perspective of a man sitting at the counter, and the song changes to Tom's Diner by Annenmine Counterright, which is AMK. Tom's Diner, a cover by AMK. And if you watch the other video, you'll see that I had a problem with including that because I had a resistance to German people. And look, I just spent the morning getting encouraged by the bravery of German women. See that? Against the wrong. You know? Okay. Anyways, let's not get distracted. So he turns back, and he's thinking of his own problems, and he's in this building, and he's not paying attention to those guys. And then I'm not sure where this fits in, where the backstory fits in, but we see that the father, the female presenting person coming in, is actually this man who owns the place's beloved foster son. And he raised this little boy who then turned into a little girl. And we see in their childhood the love that the dad had for the little boy, and he and his wife raised him, and then he ended up getting cancer. And throughout fighting that, one day there was some event, and he was at this trailer, and he was with a group of other kids, and the girls were getting wigs, and the hair they were going to give him was just, boy hair. And he stayed behind. He saw these wigs. He had never seen anything like that before. And he saw these wigs, and then he was missing for a time. And his father found him dancing around, because he loved to dance, found him dancing around with all these wigs. These long girl wigs, though. And he accepted him. He didn't shame him or make him feel bad, but his stepmother did. Or not stepmother, his foster mother did. She was very religious and just freaked out. And so we see that the little boy over time loves to dance, and he's finding ways to express himself as a female, and the foster mother hates it. And the foster father loves the little boy no matter what. He's just interested in him and being healthy and well. And so he starts taking him to the diner, teaching him how to cook and letting him stand there in stilettos and do whatever he wants to do, learn how to dance with these shoes on and express himself and learn how to cook. And over time, the boy, he sees the tension in the marriage, and he sees that his foster father, loves him so much. He wants the best for him. And the little boy's about to age out. Well, not age out, but in a few years he'll age out, and the father wants to adopt him. And the foster mother does not. And the little boy runs away rather than cause pain to this man that he loves. He runs away. And this is the first time that the foster father is seeing this little boy who he loves as his son, and would have left the wife for, because she's mean, evil, and ignorant. She was treating him bad, and she should have just loved him, anyways, what happened to the little boy was he started busking on the streets. And that song is Dance Monkey. And he busted his butt. And over time, he started changing his appearance, getting money, and in transitioning into more feminine attire, and just, expressing themselves how they are. And met their love, the male presenting but woman, at this school. And they were denied an education. They were trying to go to this fame-like school where it's a performing arts high school, and they wouldn't let them, like a boarding school. Think Hogwarts, but Hogwarts meets fame. And they wouldn't let him in because he didn't have any money. And he was trans. And he noticed as he was walking through this thing, he checked out their cafeteria, and they had crap food. So he got an idea. And he took his money for his tuition, and he got himself a little tiny room that had a small kitchenette in it, and bought himself a refrigerator and everything he would need, and a tent, and went and set up across from the school, set up a tent with free lunches. Set up burritos of all kinds, good food. It was a free lunch. And the deal is if you teach me what you learned in school today, you eat free. If not, you got to pay for it. And slowly but surely, long story short, they started just gaining all the information, the dance moves, the history, the schooling, and made a lot of friends. Then in this park, they got older people involved, and they started teaching life skills and things that these kids like really needed. So they had like this, they had food and social interaction, and they created a community in this park and ended up opening a restaurant and doing all these things and becoming successful, and married their love in a short amount of time, married their love. And they, before transitioning, they wanted to have a child. And the little boy, he had cancer, and so he wasn't able to father a child. So the part of Dance Monkey is that song is somebody saying, I've seen you my whole whatever. They end up getting this like grant of this gift of insemination and the whole process. And it was gifted to them, and there was anonymous sperm. So that's how the pregnancy happened. And then you see from the father's standpoint, the foster father's standpoint, you can see that father's background and why they were so accepting and why they have this diner and why they were the ones that set up this whole Mother's Day festival and brought prosperity to this town, basically. And we see the little boy disheveled and like dressed in pajama shorts, and walking through town, wiping sleep out of their eyes, and showing up at this diner. And you can tell it was like back in the day. And it's like a dream. It's like a dream sequence. And we see the door open to the diner, and you see a drag queen open the door, and you hear, me and Mrs. Jones, we've got a thing going on. We both know that it's wrong. And instead of the song implies that Mrs. Jones, that they're having an affair, in a sense they are having an affair. This little boy is the foster father, and he was living a life where he was neglected by his mother, extremely neglected. She was a raging alcoholic and abusive. And he didn't have his dad because his dad came out as homosexual and as loved to dress in drag. So Mrs. Jones was actually Mr. Jones and his dad. And he wasn't allowed to see his dad. And the judge had said, and everybody had said that, that this guy was a pervert and he was all these things, but he was his dad. And so he had to sneak out of his, well, not even sneak. She was passed out on the couch is what I see. Cigarette burnt down, among many. And he shows up to get ready for school. And Mrs. Jones has food ready for him, has cooked it, and sends him off to the shower. You know, you go take your shower. It's a little house attached to the thing. And they come out with their school clothes on and backpack and lunch packed and set for school. And I see a montage in my brain of them meeting every day early and plotting out how the little boy is going to go to school and get good grades and go to college and get scholarships so that they can get out of there and, you know, have business. Anyways, he did that. And he graduated from business school. And the guy sitting at the counter with Tom's Diner is a buddy from college. And his mom died. Mrs. Jones died. She was killed. I got mommy issues. There's a lot of dead moms in this damn story. My mom's not dead, but she's fucked up. So obviously I have mother issues, and it's what this whole damn thing is all about, all these mother issues. The strength and weaknesses of mothers in all their guises. And so the foster father built this industry around this town and was trying to do that as their foster son was growing and trying to bring business to this town and to hold on to this diner that meant so much to their deceased mommy, daddy, whatever they are. And just accepted their child for who they were. Because love is love. It doesn't matter, you know, all that stuff doesn't matter. Love is just love. And they were overjoyed to see their now daughter and to see that their partner was obviously pregnant, and just overjoyed to have him back in their life. That wife was gone a long time ago. As soon as the little boy ran away, he realized why he had lost his son. And, you know, he got rid of that bitch. Anyways. It's very in-depth. There's a part in Tom's Diner. It says, I'm sitting. Basically, he sees the woman come in. They come in and they're saying, exchanging hellos. So we see this scene from this guy's perspective. And Purple Rain comes back on, and all of a sudden, as they're standing there at the reception area, there's this huge giant crash, and a car has crashed into the restaurant and has hit them. It's a lot, I know. Hour and 19 minutes. The car crashes in and hits them. And you see a woman, and a 40-something-year-old woman, weathered but gorgeous, stumble out of the car while it's up on this podium. It's perched on a podium, wheels spinning, and just god-awful sounds from the engine. And she just stumbles down and just makes her way outside. What part do I tell? We start seeing the woman's background. You start hearing the song Delta Dawn by Tanya Tucker. And that one goes, as we're seeing it, we see, I'm going to sing the song, but it's so complicated. There's like other characters and different songs. And this thing has about 20 songs. It's big. It's huge. I just want to sing Delta Dawn. I'm always trying to sing or share my art. And I can't do either. But I love it. Okay, let's see. Delta Dawn, what's that flower you have on? Could it be a faded rose from days gone by? And did I hear you say he was meeting you here today to take you to his mansion in the sky? She's 41 and her daddy still calls her baby. All the folks round Brownsville say she's crazy, 'cause she walks downtown with the suitcase in her hand, searching for a mysterious dark-haired man. In her younger days, they called her Delta Dawn, prettiest woman you ever laid eyes on, till a man of a low degree stood by her side, promising her he'd take her for his bride. Delta Dawn, what's that flower you have on? Could it be a faded rose from days gone by? And did I hear you say he was meeting you here today to take you to his mansion in the sky? And he goes on like that. Love you, Tanya. See a little girl run out of, see a compound of country houses and woods nearby. See a little boy crouched down and hiding behind a bush, watching the house intently, and a little girl bust out of the back, picking up her little house on the prairie dress and just running into the bushes real fast. The little boy's like, "What took you so long? I've been waiting forever." And she's like, "Be quiet." And he turns around automatically, and before he turns, he throws the clothes at her. See her looking over her shoulder, making sure he's not peeking, and she's taking off her dress and she's putting on these boy clothes. She tucks her braids into a cap, and they run off. She tucks her clothes into like a log so they don't get damaged or dirty. And they run off together. And you can see a montage of them just playing in the woods and sword fighting and just climbing trees, catching frogs, fishing, eating mushrooms and berries and nuts, and just having a good time. And you see them over the years do this over and over and over and over again. And You see them in the woods one day. And she's getting close to, I guess, marriageable age. And they've made a pact that they're only going to marry each other. They're best friends. And, you know, if they got to do the yucky thing and get married, they just don't want to be. He doesn't like any other girls and she doesn't like any other boys. And this isn't the LDS church, but it's LDS-esque. It's not the LDS church. You know what I mean? It's along those lines. And they're in the woods playing, and they see this big flash of like multicolored lights deep in the woods. And they hear all this activity, and they go and they look. And they see a man step out of this ring, this like portal. I see the man's face, and they run home. And that night, well, the next evening, there's a church meeting for the girls. Basically, it's like they're teaching them. The men want to have a look at these young ladies because they're kind of hidden a lot of the time, and there's a lot of them, and there's visitors in town that want to see these young girls to see what the prophet wants to do with them, right? And basically, these church members, these older men church members, are looking at the crop of young brides. And we see a familiar little girl, and she's the most beautiful girl in the bunch. And she sees one of these men, and it's the man that stepped out of the portal, and she's scared to death. Scared to death. And he sees that she's the most beautiful girl, so he starts talking her up in sizing her up. See how pliable she is, basically. He's grooming her. And he's saying all these things like, I'm sure that the prophet will see a wonderful husband for you, and I'm an instrument of him, and all this stuff. And she said, I know exactly who you are. I know you're from heaven, and I saw you come out of the portal and the thing, and, you know, he asked, why are you so afraid? You can't be timid. You can't be afraid. What are you not going to speak to your husband? And you have responsibilities if you're going to be a grown woman and have all these glories of being a mom and a wife and a first wife and all these things, right? And she's like, I'm just scared because I saw you come out of the portal, and I know exactly who you are. I know you're from the prophet, and I believe, right? And he's scared shitless. He's like, what? You saw me come out of where? Out of what? So he says, well, if you're able to see me, only my true wife can see me. So you must be my wife anointed by the prophet. So I'm going to come pick you up at such and such a time, and be ready, but don't tell anybody. Basically, he picks her up. He gives her a corsage of fake flowers. And he takes her to this area in the woods, and he pretends that he does this ceremony and that they are now married. And he takes advantage of her. He grapes her. But she believes that she doesn't know anything about anything. And he says, I forbid you to tell anybody about what has happened. I am your husband. And, you know, she's been raised that her husband, and she saw this guy come out of a damn portal. So she goes, the next time he leaves. He said, I have to go and fulfill this and do whatever. And so she's wearing the flowers. And everybody wants to know where she got these flowers from. And, you know, she just said she got them at the meeting or whatever it was. And everybody's jealous of the damn flowers. And she's in shell shock. And then she meets the little boy, the one she's supposed to marry, and she breaks his heart and says, I can't marry you. And he wants to know why, and she can't tell him. She can't tell him anything. She just, you know, I can't marry you, and we can't meet anymore, and he's devastated. And so he's crashing out, and he can kind of sense that he's about ready to get kicked out, because that's what they do to little boys, so there's no competition for these young brides, child brides. And over time, we see her trying to keep her head above water and to live, and she's waiting for this guy to come back and waiting, and she can't say anything. And then her parents find out that she's pregnant. And she won't say how this happened, or she doesn't even really know what is going on. And the little boy, he had been sneaking away, and then he got put out because he was spending so much time away that that was any excuse they needed to put him out. And so he's trying to survive by living in the woods, and he had some things tucked away because he knew the time was coming where he would be on his own, and he thought he was just going to live in the forest and they were going to run away together. And so he's watching for her, and then he doesn't see her for a long time. He doesn't know where she is. And finally he notices that periodically they bring food to this outdoor building. It's raised up off the ground, so there's ventilation underneath it. It's like a coop, but a large coop. It's a storage building, and there's windows at the top and airflow, but there's only one door. There's no windows. You can't see in it. Anyways, they bring food to this building every once in a while, and they take away buckets. And so he surmises that she's in there for some reason, and he ends up doing like a Looney Tune cartoon and saws a hole in the bottom of this thing, pops his head up, and sure enough, there she is. And she's happy to see him, and they just reunite. And so he lives his days outside, and he brings her fresh fruit and water and whatever he can find. And she doesn't know why she's confined in here, and he doesn't really know. And it's not until she gets very big and they realize that there's a baby in there. And the song for that whole thing is Sara's Smile by Hall & Oates. So he's keeping her company and keeping her sane, and her pregnancy progresses. And then, you know, they're considering leaving, but at this time they're realizing that she's too big to get through this hole that he has made. And they need to go quickly, but he has to go and get the tool to saw the hole bigger for her to get out. And she started to go into labor. Her family realizes that she's going into labor, and they just let her labor alone. They don't care whether she lives or dies, or the child lives or dies. And her parents leave to go to like town, right? She's laboring. He leaves to go get his stuff. He's like, we're getting out of here, not knowing how all this works. He doesn't realize she's not going to be able to get up and just walk. And he thinks that they're just going to leave. And so he goes to get his stuff, and he has it. And he pops his head up into the thing to save her. And he sees light on in the room, and blood, and her just laying there. and a man and her parents. And the man says, there he is, that's the one that did it. What they had done was they went to the church and they found the guy who that's what he did. That's what he travels around and takes babies or kids or, unwanted kids. He transfers kids to different areas. And so this guy happened to be back in town, and they're like, our daughter, she had a baby out of nowhere. We don't know how this baby, we need you to take this baby away. And he shows up and he realizes that this is the chick that he made his wife, and that's his kid. And he's holding this baby, and then, the boy, he makes his appearance, and so that he blames it on, before she can wake up and say, husband, there you are, she's passed out. Before she can finger him, he's like, oh, it was convenient. So they knock him over the head. They stab him, and he wakes up hanging upside down by his foot on a hill kind of far away from the scene. And he sees the man holding the baby, and he sees Delta, and she's being drugged by her foot. She's still passed out. He thinks that she's dead because they're dragging her. Her dress is all bloody and rucked up around her shoulders, and she is just completely naked and just blood everywhere. They don't care. They're dragging her like she's nothing. And the mother's there, and he had tucked a pistol that he had stolen, and he only had a few bullets. He had 3 bullets, I think. And he thought she was dead. And he was just going to shoot them and shoot himself from far away. And then the man holding the baby turned, and he realized that he was holding the baby. And if he shot him, then the baby would fall. And he knew that that was Delta's baby. So basically, he fired at them. All the adults scrambled for cover, and then he shot the rope at his feet, and he fell and lost consciousness. The song for that is "In Hell, I'll Be in Good Company." Who sings that song? Dead wife is what I told him to my shoulder. That's the song for that one. And it goes on. And there's more and more and more and more and more. Basically, he had to leave, and the baby was gone, and they made Delta, as her penance, walk up and down in this town with this suitcase filled with this gory display, where she would have to set up this table and have this display of all these abortion pictures, these horrible, tragic abortion pictures. Day in and day out, she would walk. And they told her that her child had died, that it was a monster, and that it had died, and that this was her penance for sin. She didn't know that the guy she thought of was her husband was there. She didn't know any of it. And she was made to walk day in and day out. And when she was younger, she had somebody mind her, like somebody from the church, a younger sibling. They would watch her and make sure she would walk and walk and walk. An hour and 39 minutes. The boy, he went into town, and he thought he woke up and nobody was there. He didn't know what to do. He made his way into town, and organization that's what they do, is it's charity that finds these lost boys and help girls that want to run away from this church. And they saved him. They educated him and tried to heal him. And he had an interest in photography and music and all these things. And he ends up becoming a producer and making a lot of money. And I'm not going to go into the whole story, but he becomes a billionaire and ends up buying a store in the mall area that Delta walks up and down. She won't accept any help from him. She doesn't know anything about the world, so she doesn't know that he's a billionaire, and he kind of disguises himself and has filled the whole mall with people who are security that watch out after Delta. She won't accept like new shoes from him and stuff, so he has people bring her food or bring her things that he needs, like umbrella or whatever it is, and she will only accept it if she thinks it's like charity, or she won't accept it from him. And he has this little whatnot store, and he just sits there and he watches her because he loves her. He has billions of dollars and nobody, and he loses a wife. He had a wife and a child, and they died in a mass shooting. And he descended into debauchery. He descended into debauchery and just had a life of, I can't even go into all of it, but he had a life. And he created, well, I'm not going to tell you it all. It's my good idea. It's got to keep some surprises for the book or movie or whatever it is. But he's got $1 billion. And he'd rather spend his life watching her and just being with her in any way that he can. I can't believe I'm telling my whole story. And that has a song too. I forget what it is right this second. But she wants him to have a life. Don't pine over me. And he says, I had a life. And I have a dead wife. And she died. And I'm in mourning. And you're my friend. And I just want to be here. And the only kindness she will really take from him is that he'll say, I have to go. Can you watch my store for me? I have to go and run, do such and such. And what he does is he'll leave her in the bathroom in his store. He'll leave her very humble gifts, like something that reminds him of their childhood together, and like a little folded piece of paper or something, or a certain flower, or piece of grass, or whatever it is. And she'll accept those little kindnesses. And he provides like lotion and toiletries and stuff so she can like wash her freaking face or put moisturizer on or whatever it is. Sunscreen. But not while he's there, only when she's like alone. So she'll sit down and have like a cup of tea. It's the only kindness she has. And she's been walking for decades in penance. So on this Mother's Day weekend, she's still walking. She doesn't have a minder anymore because, her mother is long dead and her father is old, but she still shows up because now she believes that it is her penance and that she killed her child and her husband has never come back, and she's just walking with the faded flowers on her dress, and she doesn't bother people anymore. She just walks. And as she's walking towards the road, the traffic light has stopped traffic. And she sees a huge old car from the 70s. And she can't believe her eyes. They're looking just as young as the day that she saw him, or the same age. She wasn't really young, but the same age as when she saw him was her husband. In this big green Skylark or Lincoln or something. It was huge. I think it's a Lincoln. I don't know what it is. It's a big boat of a car. And it's green. It has a white top on it. And she drops the suitcase and she starts walking faster towards the car. And he looks at her and looks away. He didn't even recognize her. They make eye contact. And he has no idea. There's no recognition. And she's just in shock, walking closer and closer. And as she gets closer, she sees in the back seat behind him, back to the door, crying, eyes wide. She locks eye with a little girl that looks exactly like her in the back seat. The little girl has flowers just like she has flowers, and she meets eyes with this little girl, and the little girl stops crying, and there's like a soul recognition instantly. And as she gets to the car, she's rushing now, closer and closer. The car traffic moves on. And she is just crashing out. She is just frantic, looking around. She doesn't know what to do. She starts stumbling after this car. She's watching the car. You can't help but miss it. And she sees that it goes through the traffic light down the road, and it turns into the parking lot of this diner. And as she's running towards this diner, she passes an older man letting his even older mother out at this little dip in the road, this little turnout where buses can let people off and stuff. And the car is running and the door is open, and she jumps in this car. She doesn't know how to drive. She's pressing all the buttons at the same time and down and whatever, and she gets it to go. And she gets it to go, and it goes fast. She doesn't know how to point it, but she points it as best she can toward where she wants to go, and she is barreling through traffic, almost hitting people, and she doesn't know how to stop it. The diner stops it. She runs into the diner, car going, and she's just insane. She just doesn't check on anybody. She's bleeding. She doesn't care. As she didn't even see what she was doing. Her eyes were only on this car, and she sees it's parked in the parking lot, and she's like this as she hits. She wants that baby. She knows that is her daughter. She knows that's her child. That she knows that is her baby that she's been walking for all these years, that they said was dead. And her husband had this child. So she passes this man on her way out, and he has this huge staff with a flag on it. And there are each group of bikers, if they have clubs or whatever, they have the standard bearers for the basically head security for these mothers, and all the mothers would gather around the standard bearer, and you could always find where your club was because there was a big flag on top of it. It was a rallying point so that the moms didn't get lost in the fair. And there's a man walking with purpose, fine ass man, walking with purpose. Think Michael B. Jordan. But if Michael B. Jordan was had cattle dog coloring, like different colored, natural colored hair and different colored eyes. Very striking and distinct. She grabs this standard from him, runs the like 20 feet to this old car and starts smashing out the windows. Saves her little girl. And when he sees that she's got this little girl and they're like obviously happy to see each other, he's like, whatever. He's got murder on his mind and he heads into the building. And then we start seeing his backstory. We see a little boy leave the door open. We see him trying to talk his mom into letting him sleep with her. And we see his mom thinking he's just adorable and so filled with love for him and fear and just pain and just trying to keep a stiff upper lip for him and say, no, you're a big boy now. You can do this. You know, it's okay. And we see her getting ready for a party. And her party is Tata to your Tata's party. And her girlfriends are going to have a boudoir glamour shoot where they commemorate their breasts because she's found out that she has breast cancer. And she has to have a double mastectomy. And that's why he can't sleep with her anymore. And she doesn't want to tell him that she has cancer or that any of this is going on because she wants him to gain some sense of his own independence. And she doesn't want him to think that the cancer or her illness has driven him out of her bed. She wants him to find his own strength in being kind of independent. Because she's going to fight, but she doesn't know how it's going to end up. So she's trying to give him some space in independence, in self-power. He's not having it, and he don't want it. So her friends show up, and they're outside, and they're having a cigarette on the porch. And we see her sitting at a beautiful vintage dressing table. And she's wearing the prettiest see-through peignoir, and it's just beautiful. She's gorgeous. And her girlfriends start yelling at her to put her bra on and come outside. That something's going on. And she's not listening. And then they're like, Brenda, put your bra on. Which is the song, Brenda, Put Your Bra on. And so finally, you can see a glint of the devil get in her eyes. And she's like, fine, I'll put my bra on. Or no, I'll come outside. And so she takes everything off and she walks outside stark naked. And in the video of Brenda Put Your Bra On, there's trouble in the hood, right? And there's a big fight, and the news van is there, and it happens to be broadcasting live. And so she commemorates her tatas and all of her stuff on national news live. And then we go back to the diner. But we see the man that's sitting at the counter. And we see he's Tom's Diner. And we hear another song from him. And it's House of the Rising Sun. I can't believe I'm telling this whole... It's almost 2 hours. Are you guys bored? These are all songs. We hear House of the Rising Sun by the Animals. And part of that goes, there is a house in New Orleans. It's called the Rising Sun. It's been the ruin of many young boys. And Lord, I know I'm one. My mother was a tailor. She sewed my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans. And I see a young boy adopted for his striking looks as an accessory by a couple that are like, imagine a religious rock and roll designer couple. Think Mick Jagger as the pastor and Iman as a designer. And she was a high fashion model, supermodel turned designer. And when she found God and she married like a Mick Jagger type guy, his big thing was music, and he had a huge, huge church. And she started this designing for charity, and everything she designed was white. No other color but white. And they had little tags where it had numbers or tags where you could look up in a catalog and you could read such and such a purse was number 57XYZ. And people could look it up and say, oh man, you had to spend enough money to buy a whole dang village, or 1,000 water wells is what this dress cost. Or, so the clothing cost acts of service. You know what I mean? And this little boy was an accessory. He was one of many adopted kids, and excellence was accepted or expected from him. The little boy was really smart and very gifted physically, and ended up being an Olympic fencer. And at some point was on an exhibition with a rival country. Think if it was like a fencing team from, I don't know, whatever rival countries we have. I don't even know what rival countries we have or had back in the day. Think the Cold War. And they got separated. They got separated from their larger groups. And they were in New York and they got snowed in. Huge blizzard. So they ended up having this whole floor that had been booked out for the whole Olympic teams. I'm slobbering. They basically had it to themselves. And this boy he wasn't allowed to be gay. And he found himself with somebody else who wasn't allowed to be gay, and they were both gay together when nobody could see it. And a maid on that floor, before she saw that he was gay, knew exactly who he was because he's a very striking looking guy. And she was going to do what skeezers try to do to athletes all the time. She was going to try to seduce him and get pregnant. And when she found out that he didn't roll that way, she despaired. But after 2 days, she figured out that these guys weren't coming out of this room, and there was a lot of, hanky-panky going on. And so as she saw one of them left the room, and she could see that there were disposed of, tied up condoms around the garbage can, she could see. So she heard the striking boy in the shower, and she stole the condoms. She stole the condoms, and she was going to have them inseminated And she had a boyfriend who was out of state, but he worked at this facility that did inseminations. And she talked to him on the phone, and he was like, well, that's not going to get you anything but child support. And if I'm going to be cut in on this, I'm going to need a lot more than child support. And so they froze the goods so it wouldn't go bad at his facility. And they cooked up a plan. They cooked up a plan. He was involved in this church, and he lived with his mom, and he had a little cousin. And he talked the little cousin into, well, he forced her into being inseminated. And she was 12. She wasn't very smart. And her parents were all consumed with drugs and in all kinds of things. And she was living with her aunt, who had to work and really wasn't there, and trusted her son, which he was not to be trusted. So he inseminates this little girl, and she's pregnant, and everybody's pissed off at her, and she won't tell anybody because she doesn't want to get hurt who the father is. And the deal is that they're going to take this baby as soon as she has it. She's just incubating it. And she's 12. She doesn't know how she's feeling about all this. Long story short, this huge storm happens, like a hurricane, and she finds herself giving birth during this storm, and she takes the baby, and she doesn't know what she's going to do. She doesn't know what to do with this baby, and she ends up throwing the baby away. And then as she's walking away, the storm is raging, and she hears the baby crying, and she can't do it. She can't do it, but she also can't let them have this baby. She doesn't know what to do. And so she gets the baby out of the garbage, and she just stumbles through the storm, and she heads out of the city and just makes her way bleeding in a bunch of women at a strip club end up taking her away from the damage and the storm, and taking her to a town in the country that, she doesn't know anybody at. And they realize that she's running from whoever impregnated her, and they help her. And that little girl is Brenda, who just showed her tatas. And that little baby is her son. That little baby is her son, but that's the boy with Leave the Door Open. And when she's shown naked, her family, who thought she had just died in the storm, and that child with her, they realize that she's alive. And they want that baby, who is 7 or 8, around there now. And they find her. It takes a while. She's recovering from her mastectomy and having her cancer treatments, and she is dying. She's not doing well. And her son has taken to hanging out in this large vent in this old house that she lives in. There's a large vent in her room that looks out into her room, and her son has sat up in that room like his little hiding spot, that he doesn't think that his mother knows he's there. he has all his spy equipment, and he's like checking her out and making notes and making sure she's okay. And he has his own little area there. And she knows he's there. And she's bravely putting a healthy face on it so that she's allowing him to process. And he thinks he's watching out over his mother. And these guys break in. And she looks over at the thing, and that's the first time he realizes that she's known I'm here the whole time. And she looks at him like, you better not fucking move. Don't say a word. She gives him the look, and he's frozen. And they demand to know where he's at. And her cousin comes, and then this man from the church comes, and basically she won't give them up, and she lunges for them in a bid to make them kill her faster so that she doesn't betray her son. And they do. They kill her, and he sees it. And they go off and search for him. They can see that he has a room, but they can't find him anywhere. So he's not there as far as they're concerned, but her body is. And while they're out of the room, he basically escapes. But the same community that loved her and saved her, they then hide him, and he becomes a part of this country group, not really a gang, but community of they like motocross and they like bikes, and they're country dudes. He becomes one of them. And as he's at this event, he sees the religious guy. He sees the same man that was driving the car that Delta saw. Delta's husband, the old man, was the same man in the room with Brenda and part of her murder. And he sees that man, and he's on his way into this diner to kill him. He's got murder on his mind. And as he opens the door to the diner, he sees a man that looks almost exactly like him helping deliver a baby that ends up coming out. And the baby, they're delivering the baby, even though there's a whole story to that. I didn't tell all that. Ugh. And there's 3 people who look exactly the same. And the guy that was sitting at the counter, his song is Billie Jean. He's now a big business guy and has a lot of money, and they had just taken him to court and saying that a child is his, and they have DNA proof, and he's just sitting there not knowing how that he's never had sex with a woman. He doesn't know how the hell he fathered the baby, but where his mind is thinking, I don't know where I came from. I was adopted. I could have a twin. He didn't know. Anyways, you got 3 people in the same place at the same time. And then Delta stumbles in, and she's got the daughter, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's these commandos come down from helicopters, and they start securing the area. So Delta's billionaire boyfriend, he had security sealed the whole place up. All this happened really fast, but he every year had things on jump ready in case something popped off. He was gonna, he has security to make sure Delta's okay. So they all hustle in, and they just secure the situation, and here he comes in. They all fly away in helicopters. And guess where they're going? They're heading out into the woods where that boy saw that portal. You don't think he wasn't? He knows what he saw when he was little. He was right there with Delta, and he saw that guy come out of that thing. He knew exactly where that was. He bought that property. He has a whole bivouac thing out there where he's watching, monitoring scientists to see if that thing opens again. and what exactly it is. And that's all I'm telling you. And that portal leads to where Hazel. Hazel can sense. The more babies are popping up, the more his energy is over there, and those are his kids. He's a shapeshifter. So those babies are and Hazel can turn into a human. The dragon can turn into a human too. The dragon could be a human or a dragon. Hazel can be anything, but he has shown up as a human. And they're all going to go over there. And the song for the portal, is Stairway to Heaven. I think that's it. I think there's a couple songs I'm missing here and there. A couple parts. What do you think? Think I'm crazy? I'm crazy. My grandson, he loves the story. At least the fantasy part. I don't want to tell him about all the inseminations and all that stuff. But I don't know how to write it. I don't know how to get the rights to the songs for it. I had an idea. I had a couple ideas. I had an idea to give the song and to find a way to kind of tell each story completely, and then go to Fiverr and have like different graphic artists make cartoons for it or something. Each component with a different flavor, different style. And then I thought that I could get on something like maybe TikTok or something, and see if like people could make it. You know how sometimes people will make a music video and then other people make art for it? Maybe interpretive dance or something. Somebody could do the songs. I don't know. I need help. But I'm scared to tell people about it because I love it so much. It's so much, and I don't have any of it written down. It's all just in my head. In the world with Hazel, there's a prophecy about a boy being born with marks. And the boy born with marks will basically free the world, will stop the dump, and free them. But the powers that be, like the emperor, he doesn't want to stop the dump, because then all the different colored dust and stuff would stop, and that would mean magic would stop. And there's this big, long story about this boy being born and how the boy is born, and I got a lot. All kinds of stuff. It's a whole big book. But I don't know how to do it. It's been in my head for years. I used to try to write everything down. And then I saw a story about Stephen King, about how he thinks that's the best way to make a horrible book. He says that like his brain is like a colander, like the big ideas will stay in there and the small ideas that don't matter will fall through the holes. So that's kind of what I've been doing. But now it's time for me to start making it, I think. I'm having trouble. I don't have an app to like a Word app on my iPad. And I don't have any storage capability because Apple doesn't understand broke people. And you got to pay for everything. I don't even have an email. I don't have any money to buy any of that stuff. And my dad's taking care of me, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And I've tried to ask him. He's writing a book too. But he doesn't. He won't even listen to part of my story. I have nobody to talk to. He's scared of technology. He's afraid. He's afraid of the Chinese, and he won't allow us to have internet. So I don't even have Wi-Fi. I don't have. There's all these things I don't have. But what I do have is I have God, and I know that He'll make a way. And so I'm sharing this right now. Closed mouth don't get fed. I need somebody to help me. I got a good story. I got all these good ideas. And that's not just it. I don't just have these stories for one thing. And there's more songs. I come up with ideas for, I have a whole big story. Hotel California with T-Pain. It's only crazy until you make it, and then everybody loves it. Think about Harry Potter. Okay? Harry Potter would have sounded crazy if anybody was trying to explain it. The fuck is a Hogwarts? You know? Okay, I'm going to get off here. It's been 2 hours and 17 minutes. Thanks for listening. The story's not complete. That wasn't the complete story. That was me trying to shorten it, but hit the relevant marks. And I'm tired. What's the use of good ideas if you can't implement them? And it's so big, I don't know how. I need Rick Rubin. But then again, I don't, because I need each component. But I think that Rick Rubin's genius is direction. So maybe he would be able to tell me which to tackle first, the chicken or the egg. But then again, I think I can Rick Rubin myself. I think that I should just begin at the beginning how it was given to me and should just write what I see. I think that's what I'm going to do. But I don't know how, because I don't have the technology. I don't have the storage capability to do it. So should I write it by hand? And then there's the aspect of it that I don't know how to write. I have a 7th grade education. But I know how to read. God has this thing where they make me do stuff, but they make me find my own way to do stuff. So like even with spirituality, I've been instructed not to read books or to follow what other people do. I got to find my own way. Maybe this is like that too. Maybe I have to find my own way too, but I don't know. I wish I had some of my herbal medicine. That would make it easier. I could get, or a spiritual bath. I don't have any of that. See, this is another thing. There's lessons in the lack. I got to figure out what I do have and work with that. But I think the whole reason why I'm telling you all this is that while I was getting rid of the negativity in my life, this is what God has filled me up with, this positive. Well, the themes are the few people that I have been able to tell the story to, they get upset by some of the themes in the story, or that there are eunuchs and there is a lot of subjugation of women and violence to children. But that's the world we live in for real. That all this stuff is happening in the real world. Nobody's just making a fantasy novel over these sex traffickers and all these kidnapped and murdered women. Where do you think they're going? They sure as hell ain't going over the rainbow through some portal. But maybe they are. I don't know. Anything could be real. As I sit here with my stuffed animal grandson. My plushy grandson. It helps me. I get good ideas, is what I'm trying to say. I have a whole manifestation company in my brain. You should hear all that stuff. But what good is it if I can't get it out? I just did this one yesterday. Strawberry. My art is like bipolar. I did this one too. It's flowers, but also something about it reminds me of pineapple skin. But although I know pineapple skin is diamond shape, and this isn't. I don't know. So this is something to do with Hawaii. Oh. So I drew this, and I work with music, which is what I was just telling you about. And I thought that this referenced Pink Floyd Off the Wall, because that kind of looks like the album cover of that. And then this pattern kind of looks like a wall. I was like, maybe that's what it is. But guess what? I saw some guy, YouTube video by Errol Gee. Errolgee for his last name. And he had some cover art for music for Hearts of Fire by Earth, Wind, and Fire. If you go and look at that thumbnail, and then look at this, same coloring, almost the same image right here with the blue and this, and then the sands of the desert. And then it had golden religious things like the Ayara and all these other different things. And I don't know if you can tell, but this is gold too with crosses on it. And basically the message that I was getting from that is a child is born with a heart of gold. And it's just basically, it was telling me the same thing that God keeps telling me, is to just don't let all this BS that's happening in my life change your heart. Keep a heart of gold. And basically that's the energy that I'm able to receive in. And sure enough, I got a whole big part of my book, a new part that I haven't really thought about that much, but I'll delve into later. And my art comes through again. Go look that up. The cover to Hearts of Fire by Earth, Wind, and Fire. And also, why did Earth, Wind, and Fire leave out water and ether? Those are the 5 elements. Earth, wind, fire, water, ether. Well, that's my message. I know it's been a lot. I know I referenced a lot of songs. If you care to, listen to the song and then my corresponding story and let me know if you can see it. If you have a problem with homosexuality, with transgender people, keep it to yourself. I didn't make the story. God made the story, but I endorse it. I love it. I love everybody. I love everybody but mean people. Okay? So don't be a mean people. I love you. Send me money. I don't know how. I need a bank account. I love you. Give me your ideas. Bye. Be good.